Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Friday, October 29th. I'm Times Assistant Managing Editor Robert Blaszkiewicz, joined today by Doug Ross, Times Editorial Page Editor, and Times columnist Mark Kiesling. This will be the final political roundtable before the November 2nd election, so we'll be rounding up the latest in political news, and let's start off today by talking about 911 consolidation and how that fits in with the election.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure how it fits into the election, except to say that this is an issue that the state's got Lake County under a gun to consolidate. Porter County's already done it.
Well, the state doesn't have just Lake County. The entire state. The entire state is mandated by 2014 to go to consolidated 911 systems. Other counties throughout the state have been, actively working towards that goal. Lake County seems to be bogged down, surprise, in a political hassle over how their 911 consolidation is going to occur.
Well, it got off to a fast start about 18 months, 2 years ago, somewhere in there. I was at that meeting actually when it was organized, and everybody seemed to be on the same table and everything. And then, the ball dropped dramatically, and since then, the deadline's coming fast. The pilot project's not happening, and.
Well, Doug, is this what happens when particular consultants get involved? We've got a consultant for the sheriff's office, we've got a consultant for the county council, and when you've got a clash of consultants, sometimes you end up with unnecessary delay and stalemate. And the two consultants we've got, both Tom Dapperton and
Jim Bennett
are long-standing consultants in Lake County, and have, when you look up consultant in the Lake County dictionary, their pictures are there. So it is not a clash of inconsequential proportions.
So we'll see what happens with that.
Mm-hmm. And now we are talking today 4 days before the election, so it'd be good to get into maybe some prognostication in terms of what's going to happen. And if there's a balance of power questions both on the state and the federal level. Let's talk first about the federal level in terms of Congress. Democrats control the Senate and the House, but that's obviously a question if they're going to maintain control after next week.
Well, what I find interesting is that the Republicans are not saying how many seats they're going to capture, which tells me that they're doing a lot of talking and they're not doing a lot of looking at the polls for each individual race to come up with that number.
The Democrats are looking over their shoulders. I mean, they're clearly worried about a backlash here. But what surprised me, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, was the lack of a new, fresh candidate against Pete Blaszkiewicz in the 1st District. If at any time Representative Blaszkiewicz was vulnerable, it's now because of his questionable earmark problems.
And nobody was going to challenge him in the primary.
But now was the time for the Republicans to say, hey, you've thought that Pete was Mr. Clean all along, and maybe he's not, but we still have Mark Leyva challenging him. Leyva being a man who's lost to Blaszkiewicz half a dozen times, perhaps.
And maybe that's why the Republican Party isn't really sending back Leyva financially where it counts.
Political observers have said that Blaszkiewicz remains one of the safest Democrats in the country. So,
right.
So obviously, it's very unlikely we'll have a change over there. But
what happened to Lindemann? That's all.
Well, he came in second.
He know that. But I mean, the question is,
it makes a big difference.
Why didn't?
Well, Leyva had the name recognition. Linda Mulder came in with the money, but Leyva has run so many times he's got the name recognition, and so.
Laura Daley had great name recognition in the mayor's race in Chicago, but he was never able to pull it out. So.
Right. The second district we should talk about, actually. That's where Jackie Walorski, the Republican, is running against the incumbent, Joe Donnelly, the Democrat.
A Blue Dog Democrat.
He is a Blue Dog Democrat. I've never seen him in a Blues Clues costume, but, it's Halloween weekend.
But it is, I was just going to say, Halloween is coming up, so anything's possible.
Exactly. So, he's one of the moderates. He's backed away from Nancy Pelosi and Obama and campaign ads, so he's watching it pretty closely. Still a little bit ahead in the polls, but it's slipping. So we'll see what happens between now and Tuesday.
Yeah, the polling I've seen indicates that the Republicans are likely to take control of the House, a little less likely to take control of the Senate. Right now, indications are the Democrats may eke out a slim majority there, but it'll be interesting to see if indeed it is Speaker Boehner come 2011, how he'll rein in maybe some of those more extreme elements of his party.
And what that'll mean for people like Pete Blaszkiewicz on the Appropriations Committee.
Yeah.
We'll just say, you were talking a bit about that. We were talking a bit before we went on the air, and you had some interesting thoughts on that, I think.
Well, we were talking about the balance of power in the Indiana House of Representatives.
We can move to that.
So we'll segue into that. What a smooth move that was.
Why, thank you very much.
The balance of power seems pretty likely to shift to Republicans, so I think you're going to see Brian Bosma as your next Speaker of the House. Again, he's been that before. And what that'll mean is there are a lot of Democrats up here in Northwest Indiana, like Linda Lawson as chairman of Judiciary, for instance. I think you're going to see them lose some of their power downstate.
So what does that mean for the region in terms of our clout with losing those chairmanships? As if it wasn't
There's
bad
enough
enough.
visual for you.
As if it wasn't bad enough.
Thank you for the demonstration.
As it was, and then the other big implication there is redistricting.
Oh, that's going to be huge. I think you can see, what was it, 20 years ago, I guess, you saw two incumbents running against each other.
Yes.
Because of the way the districts were redrawn. You remember that. You could probably speak to that better than me.
I didn't know.
Well, we'll see how your memory is.
You want to shift gears here a little bit and talk about things going on in East Chicago, the continuing saga of the Second Century lawsuit?
Yeah, I'd like Doug to address
That went to today's Friday. Just today, the judge said that Indiana can proceed with trying to gather all the documents from Second Century to help it with its lawsuit. So that means that, it seems very likely that we will be getting closer to seeing the actual documents that this lawsuit is all about. Okay, sure. Second Century is a for-profit development company that has done some, development work in East Chicago. It gets a percentage of the take from the city's, overall cut from the casino up there, and so the question has been, this is, in essence, public money that's going into a private corporation that has never been held accountable for how that money is spent.
Second Century is tied to some of the more influential behind-the-scenes East Chicago political figures, Tom Kappas, so right. So that is, that is one of the things that makes it significant. It is not without some clout.
Now, bringing this back to the balance of power in the Indiana House of Representatives, and to a lesser degree in the Senate. Senator Mervan has been pushing a proposal that would have, inspired by Second Century, to require all of these agencies receiving money, agencies, corporations, whoever has this kind of an agreement to show where the money went. That legislation hasn't been going anywhere lately. With the Republicans gaining control of the House, that might give it a better chance of passage.
It's always interesting to see how much reform legislation is initiated by something that happened in Lake County.
Well, and it depends on who's being reformed to see who, how successful it is.
Whose ox is being gored?
Exactly.
Before we sign off today, we did want to make one observation. There is someone who's going to be unopposed on the ballot, but unfortunately won't be able to take office.
Right. John Ruda, unfortunately, died in office, and so then there's been this question about replacing him. You could probably speak to that, Mark.
Well, my question is, John Ruda was the township trustee in Ross Township. The Ross Township assessor, Randy Guernsey, was expected to be the Democratic nominee for Lake County assessor, and one of the things, I haven't talked to the county party chairman, Tom McDermott, yet, but one of the things I'd like to know is if there's a possibility that Randy Guernsey will be offered this job as sort of a consolation prize for having been the only, I don't want to say slated, because the Democrats didn't do a slate, but the only kind of person with party blessing to not make the cut in last May. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Randy Guernsey is offered that job.
It's an interesting scenario. We'll have to see how it develops.
Yeah.
And we'll be watching how everything develops on November 2nd. Please be sure to go to the polls, and if you want more information about elections, and if you want to see our past videos that we've done, you can view all those at nwi.com/elections. For Doug Ross and Mark Kiesling, thank you for watching.